Good afternoon and welcome everyone to today's Senate Committee on Revenue and Economic Development. Will the Secretary please proceed to call the roll?
Senator Cruz Crawford.
Here.
Senator Steinbeck. Senator Stone. Acting Chair Doniate.
And I'm here, and please mark Senator Steinbeck and Senator Neal absent excused, and Senator Stone present when he arrives. Given that we do not have a quorum, we will go ahead and move into a subcommittee to start the hearing on Senate Bill 393. And then I'll go over just the logistics of today. So good afternoon, and thank you so much for everyone welcoming here to our committee today. I would like to welcome folks both here in Carson City, and obviously we have folks in Las Vegas. As you may have known from my remarks, we are in a subcommittee right now, just because we're waiting for Senator Stone to give us quorum. They're in IFC right now, and so we're going to wait for them to come in, and then that way we can start. And so we're going to start with Senate Bill 393, and Senator Neal will be joining with us virtually. After we conduct this meeting, at that point in time, we'll check and see where Senator Stone is, and then more than likely we'll go into recess. When we come back from recess, then we'll do the work session really quickly, and then we'll move on to Senate Bill 451. So hopefully we can do it within the hour. It just depends on how far we get. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open the hearing for Senate Bill 393. And I believe Senator Neal is joining us virtually. So welcome back, Senator Neal.
Hi. Good afternoon, Senate Committee on Revenue. Thank you, Vice Chair Doniate, for standing in for me in Revenue. I'm here to present SB 393. So I want to start off with just some information, because I know we have some new Senate Revenue members on the committee. I'm hoping, I can't see in Carson City, so I'm hoping that either Mr. Nakamoto or Mr. Tower is sitting at the table. But this is a cleanup bill from 2023, which was SB 450. So for several years, I have been working on Windsor Park, and we passed the Windsor Park Environmental Justice Act in 2023. SB 393 is the cleanup to that. But what I want to do is share with you guys what is the story of Windsor Park, because you weren't currently elected except for Senator Doniate. And so I want to educate you guys and quickly show this documentary so you understand what the families worked on with the UNLV Film School and the Boyd School of Law in order to try to tell the story of what has been a justice journey for 30 years. So Mr. Nakamoto or Mr. Tower, because I can't see, I can only see down south. Everybody knew who grew up over here about Windsor Park. It just became a neighborhood that was just kind of dying out. But I just knew that if it had been another community and they had not been Black, they would have fixed those houses. The fact that they've been left to just die out rather than someone stepping in to help them.
It's just not right. I'm important, we're important, we paid our fair share, we paid our taxes, and we deserve to be treated better.
Fix up Windsor Park, clean up these vacant lots that the city owns, make it look like a livable community.
I wasn't thinking about it in terms of a justice issue. I was just thinking, why do they live in this house? And it's like a dead zone.
It's a very interesting story. Windsor Park was built in the early 1960s when segregation had not ended in southern Nevada.
No one should have to live as they've lived over the past few decades, and I hope we can find a solution for them.
The residents of Windsor Park all came here for the same reasons. For a future, their future, one they could build with their own hands. Yet below all the glittering lights, revolutionary singers, and high rollers, Las Vegas was just another city in America plagued with systemic racism.
And you're talking about the 1960s? It was almost completely segregated. African Americans at the time worked in the back of the house of casinos, doing maid work, porter's work, linen rooms, that kind of work. The dirtiest jobs went to African Americans, but they were jobs.
Subpar jobs also led to subpar housing options for African Americans.
So redlining is a practice that banks and lending institutions actually draw a red line around communities in a city that they don't want to loan money into. The West Side community, and I named the community because at that time that's the only place that African Americans could actually live here in the city.
Windsor Park was one of the first all-black housing communities built on the historic west side of North Las Vegas. It was an important step in giving African Americans a place in society.
Homes are the way that you get established. It is the way you build wealth. It is the way you create community. Home ownership is the underlying stabilizing force in our country. They tell everybody to become a homeowner. That is the American way.
My name is Annie L. Walker, and I'm a resident of Windsor Park. And I've been living in Windsor Park for 50 plus years.
My name is Nancy Johnson, and I'm 65 years old, and I moved here in 1976. My daughter was around 2 months old when I moved here, and I was very excited with a new home, with a new baby.
My dad was stationed at Nellis, and things were a little rough in my marriage, and so he came and got me and three of my older children, and we have been here ever since, and have multiplied since then.
Oh, the neighborhood was fantastic. It was really nice. Everybody was so friendly. We all had Easter egg hunts with all the children. They would ride up and down the street with bicycles.
Then, 20 years later, something strange happened.
It's called subsidence. The houses were built in an area where there are geological faults. So imagine the ground has cracks in it, a fault. When the groundwater is drawn out, the ground sinks, but near the faults, parts of the ground sink more than other parts. So if your house is on top or near one of those cracks, your house cracks, pipes crack, roads crack. So it became very apparent to people who lived in Windsor Park in the 1980s, and they approached the city of North Las Vegas and said, our houses are cracking, we have cracks in the road, what can you do for us?
The Department of Housing and Urban Development conducted a study and estimated that between $12 and $14 million was needed to relocate the residents. But in 1991, the money for Windsor Park was reduced from $12 million to $5 million, with officials believing that this amount, quote, would allow Windsor Park families to reestablish their living conditions to the standard that once existed in Windsor Park, unquote. As of 2021, this has not been proven true. The battle over Windsor Park stretched out over 3 phases.
I came here about 4 years ago, and I never knew nothing about them vacant lots till later. Or she started telling me about, well, these used to be houses.
I stayed here because I didn't want to move. This is my home. I didn't want to start all over paying a mortgage. I had a little girl. The community was just dreaming about how it used to be when we first moved here. We were all happy until they started tearing down these homes.
The feelings of the residents began to change. Feelings of neglect. Feelings of despair. But the 1991 resolution to stop them from building or repairing their homes didn't make them feel surprised in the least.
We used to go to council meetings, complain about different things, the sewage and everything else. And we're gonna fix it, you know, it's always an excuse.
The city can help us if they choose to help us. They weren't supposed to tear down the homes in the first place. They were supposed to move the people out, fix up the property, and move them back in.
We want Windsor Park to be built up like it was 40 years ago. When my fiance first moved here. Like she said, Windsor Park was very nice.
You know how I come to the conclusion they said all of that to shut my mouth up. That's the way I took it, because they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything.
The situation came to a roadblock. No progress was made, and people were just sort of left in their houses, and I think they feel as if they've been abandoned.
Even after decades of unfair treatment by their government and by officials, the residents of Windsor Park continue to fight. Because a home is worth protecting.
I'm Senator Dina Neal. I grew up in North Las Vegas. I've lived in North Las Vegas my whole entire life. I got involved in politics because my dad was in politics. He was in the state senate for 32 years. And I learned about Windsor Park through him. I remember my friend that lived down the way. Their whole front of the house started to sink, and the sidewalk in front completely became cracked. If you didn't know Windsor and you came over here, you'd be like, who stays over here? And how can you even possibly live here? There's like this house, vacant lot, vacant lot, vacant lot. This house looks like it's getting ready to fall apart. How did they even get to the state and condition? And why would a government leave them in that condition? It then begs the question for you to say, well, who has the responsibility to fix it? They did. If you listen to the city of North Las Vegas, they didn't want to pay for it. They didn't want to pay to fix it. These residents were too expensive for them. And in my mind, I was just like, justice is not expensive. Because if it was somebody else, you would have done right by them, but for some reason you don't have any interest in doing right by these families. The Windsor Park residents, we were on the same page in that I really wanted to fight for them, but knowing the city and their behavior and how they just kind of responded to them, and I felt like they were disrespected, I needed someone else.
When I first met her at the law school, she had a stack of papers, I'd say about a foot high, detailing, again, the results of her research about Windsor Park. She wanted the law school to help tell the story of the residents and to see if we could find, either a legal or business remedy for them. In my perfect world, what I hope happens for the residents of Windsor Park is that we can find a developer who's interested in the commercial opportunities that are nearby. So a developer that can take advantage of an opportunity zone might also then be able to provide residential benefits for the residents in terms of either new homes or helping to rehabilitate the existing homes.
If we can lift it up in the national space and get attention, I think we can get other bedfellows to jump in this fight with us and talk about why would you leave this community in this condition for this long and not say a word.
I love my community. I love my neighbors. My prayer that night is for my whole entire Windsor Park. It was founded on good intention, and it was to help people, give them an opportunity to own their own home. So our last days could be good days, to just enjoy and not be burdened because of the city of North Las Vegas.
We need public.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Thank you, Vice Chair Dunyate, for allowing us to show that video, because I wanted to reorient the Senate Revenue Committee to what is this journey? Why am I in this position where I am fighting for Mrs. Walker's last days to be her good days? That I am amending the bill because you taking on SB 393 because there was unfinished work from SB 450 from last session where I really needed to move forward. One of the largest lessons that I learned was that sometimes legislative intent is not always seen or followed because other folks only see the black and white language that's in the bill and they only want to follow the black and white language. And as a legislator, you're saying, well, on the record, I put my intent, I established what my legislative intent was. And when I left session with SB 450, which provided $37 million to move and relocate these families and give them a new home, so they would be allowed to have generational wealth to pass down to their families and receive justice, I found out over those 2 years that there were things that I needed to go in and make sure that it was black and white and in the law. So SB 393 represents that. Hopefully you guys have also seen my conceptual amendment, which is, the plain language as well. But just to quickly highlight what is in SB 393, we have families in Windsor Park who demolished their own home, right? And they currently own some of the vacant lots that you saw in the video. And my legislative intent in 23 was we should be able to land swap those vacant lots that are actually owned by those families, because we're going to ultimately, tear down the rest of the houses and turn that neighborhood into a park in remembrance of those families who had been seeking justice for 30 years and who had also passed away while we were fighting this battle, which started with me in 2019. And so the first section of the bill, which you guys have an amendment for, which is section 2, I was trying to clean up that language to make sure that the lots that are currently there are only eligible for swap if they are owned by the actual families. There are other lots that are owned by the city of North Las Vegas when HUD came in and they were told to, in the phases, demolish the homes. But we're not swapping those lots. We're planning on turning those lots into a park. Why are we turning that into a park? So I'm trying to re-educate you on what is going on. So in 2018, City of North Las Vegas did a park study. We found this study in 2019. And we had found out, the residents didn't know, that they had did an environmental study, that they had actually researched that the land was stable enough that it could have barbecue pits, concrete bathrooms, and turn into a park. So once I got that information, I used that information to then help me to figure out how am I going to translate these vacant lots into something good, into something valuable that not only the school would be able to take advantage of, but the actual community would not look like a demilitarized zone, where it would actually give a foundation for that community. And so, because what you didn't see in the video is that not more than 50 feet from Clayton is CVT Gilbert, which is a magnet school that has been there for a very long time. And I'm trying to make sure that there's cohesion between the two churches that are in the neighborhood, the school, and the environment, so that it looks and still maintains its space as a place where people want to go and where the families can also return to and sit on a park bench. So the amendment that you guys have in front of you, section 2, cleans that up. In section 1, which I kind of skipped over, in the bill we missed a street, and we're cleaning it up because we were challenged, saying, well, you have half of the street included in SB 450 and 23, and we don't believe that you can include the half of the street. And so our legislative legal division chimed in 23 and said, the bill says the entire neighborhood. So that argument loses its weight. The next part of the bill, which goes into section, I believe this is, if we go down to section 2 sub 7, this is the language where we are talking about how we're going to deal with property taxes. So currently, as you saw in the video, and this was a video that was done over, we're in 25, so 4 years ago. We have residents who are in their 80s and their 70s and their 60s. They're not returning back to work. There is no way they're going to go back to work. But how do we create equity? How do we bring justice? And so one of the pieces that was always my legislative intent was, how do we protect the property tax that they're currently paying and make sure that that is protected and crossed over? So after doing research, we currently have in law, we had a senior tax rebate that was already in statute. We just were not funding it. And so I took that language to try to establish a way so that when we move these residents literally down the street, that we would be able to protect their property tax and the rate would stay the same. Because I don't want to put an 80-year-old woman in a position where they cannot afford the property tax, and the efforts that we have been working on will die on the vine. The next portion of the bill, which is in section 3, we were just trying to clean up the language related to the rehab grants that were in SB 450. So we had put in the record in 2023, which is not something that you guys could go back and watch, this 2023 hearing of awesomeness. There was a group of individuals who were moved. We call it Baby Windsor. There were 45 homes, and those 45 homes, which are off of Clayton and West, they moved. But what we found in the research was that when they moved, their paint was peeling within a year. They had tub paint. These are all documented in minutes, which are actually uploaded in the record in 23. The paint tub was peeling. We had large questions on, how do you have tub paint? There were concerns around the status of these homes actually after they moved in with CBDG dollars and the federal money that was set aside for them, and Fannie Mae, a Fannie Mae bond that was established in 1998. And so I took it upon myself to then go back and say, we also need to provide a remedy for those 45 homeowners who have potentially been living since 1996 and 97 in a home that, although it was provided for them, paint was peeling and there were different problems and issues that they were going to the city council meetings and telling them about. And these items were not repaired because we could not find any minutes where it was a discussion, but not actually an item where a person was given a contract to then go in and repair these homes. And so trying to clean up that language to make sure that we were clear on what we were doing and that it was up to a certain amount, because some in these past 25 years could have already taken on some work, but we wanted to at least be able to go in with our potential developer and go in and see what is it that you need done, because justice goes all the way around, because we're focused on generational wealth. We're focused on the home that you purchased, had a mortgage for, making sure that we are going to have a house that you can pass down to your children and your grandchildren, and it won't fall down around you because the government failed to act. And so the latter part of the bill are basically, it strikes out some language and then it extends our date to 2027 because we just got to the point where we had tested the land, we were looking at another set of land, but now we are in the process of hopefully closing on 18 acres where we can move the families. And we know that since we couldn't get started in 24, we need to extend the reversion of the general fund that was used, which was the $12 million, which is actually set up to and is being paid back by the city of North Las Vegas in this bill. And so with that, I want to open myself up for questions, Vice Chair, on the conceptual amendment or also anything in the bill.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Senator Stone.
Thank you, Senator. It's nice to hear your voice. Sorry I was late to the hearing, so if I'm asking you some questions that were addressed in your video, I apologize. But how many qualified vacant lots and in what size would be included in the new program as a result of the expansion of the program?
So, right, let me clarify your question. You mean like how many qualified lots will be moving?
Yes.
So currently, if we're talking about the vacant land swap, not the actual homeowners, I believe there are 10, it's either 10 or 11 that are actually owned by single family residents.
Got it. And then if you don't mind, how many properties were acquired between July 2023 and December 2023? And if you add that to the 10 to 12 vacant lots, is the original allocation of 20 or 37 million still going to suffice for the addition or the expansion of these properties?
So you're asking me how many lots were acquired in where we intend to move them?
Yes, the properties that qualify now between July 1st of 2023 and December 31st of 2023.
Okay, so let me answer you in two parts. Number one, the reason why we expanded the date to December 31st of 2023 is because after the bill passed, a person sold their house. Actually, it was an investor that sold their house to a family. And clearly, right, in SB 450, I had created a situation where we didn't want to build a new class of individuals that we were going to have to keep managing and dealing with. And so that's why we extended the date to December 31st of 2023, because there was one home sold between the effective date of the bill, July 1st, and that date of December. I believe they sold the house like December 17th or something around that. So the second part to your question is in the 18 acres, from what I've seen in the site plan, they believe that they can get 94 homes. There is a third part to your question, which is what are the size of the lots? So in SB 450, the lot size needed to be the equivalent of what they currently have. So because of these older homes that were built in 1965, so the lot size is around 5,000 square feet. Some may be 6,000, but the majority of them are around 5,000 square feet. So after we looked at that new area, we are going to be able to do that equivalent of that actual lot size of 5,000, if not a little bit over, because the law basically says it has to be the equivalent of what they currently had. So in those 1965 homes, you had a smaller home. You might have had one bath, 3 bedrooms, but you had a huge front yard, you had a huge backyard. And so we had to look at the lot size and then make that determination. But I want to add to my answer. So there's a fourth part. So in SB 450, this program is voluntary. We cannot force folks to move, but there are 5, which is why I knew when I went into the hearing in 23, there are 5 families who want to stay, they want to die in their home. Those families, which is why we were building the park, was the purpose was to protect those families from any other encroachment and any other movement, right? And so on top of the remembrance, it was also to protect them from any other commercial development, which the families had been fighting against and trying to make sure that they would not be overrun. So with that, I will close that answer. And if there's any other follow-up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Senator Neal. Any other questions? All right, let's go ahead and move on to testimony. Thank you, Senator Neal, for presenting. Given that we do have 2 bills that are pretty complex, we're gonna just do 15, 15, 15 for the sake of time. So I'll go ahead and ask for folks who would like to come forward now to speak in support to please come forward. And we'll allocate 15 minutes. And folks, of course, still have the 2 minutes per person. Let's start here in Carson City. Again, if there's folks who would like to testify in support in Las Vegas, you can feel free to come forward, please. You may begin.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jackie Spicer, Jackie-Spicer. I'm the Coalition Coordinator for the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition. We're a statewide coalition of community organizations that advocate for sustainability, justice, and equity in all levels of government decision-making. Together, we aim to liberate frontline communities from environmental hardship, which is why we are here today in support of Senate Bill 393. During the 2023 Nevada legislative session, members of our coalition were proud to support the Windsor Park Environmental Justice Act and celebrated its passage. We're grateful for the courage of Senator Neal to stand by the families of Windsor Park who have waited for justice for more than 25 years while their houses continue to sink, crack, and break at no fault of their own. Our neighbors in Windsor Park have suffered long enough due to government inaction, and this bill will help remediate years of generational harm done to these families. We urge the committee to support this bill, and thank you for your time and dedication to the people of our state.
Thank you, members of the committee, and special thank you to Senator Neal for bringing this bill forward this legislative session. My name is Olivia Tanager. For the record, I'm the director of the Sierra Club's Toyabe chapter. Our organization also supported the Windsor Park Environmental Justice Act last session and celebrated its passage as well. And we thank Senator Neal for bringing this back. We thank Senator Neal especially for all of the work that she has done on behalf of the community members in Windsor Park that you heard about today. Her leadership is really inspiring, and this bill is obviously needed and wanted by the residents of Windsor Park. So with that, I'll give time to the actual residents, but we believe that this is a huge environmental justice issue in our state that needs to be resolved, and we believe that SB 293 gets it just that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in Carson City? Let's go to Las Vegas. If folks can fill in the chairs in Las Vegas, but let's go ahead and begin.
Hello, my name is Nancy Johnson, and I'm a resident of Winslow Park community. I've been there about 50 years. And first of all, I would like to just thank the Senator, Dina Neal, for her hard work. We really appreciate her down here helping us out. We've been fighting this fight for many, many years, 30 plus years, and we're finally beginning to see things go better for us. And we just like to thank her very much for all her hard work. Thank you, Senator. My name is Nancy Johnson, and I approve this message.
Good afternoon. My name is Tammy Carter Jensen, Tammiecarter, Jensen, Jenson. I would first like to thank the Senate Review Committee for scheduling this SB 393 review. This has been a long 30-plus year journey to which I am very, very familiar. My mother is an owner of one of the homes in Windsor Park. I have not only heard, seen, and felt the disappointment held by my mother. She's one of the original residents. I can tell you of stories how my parents couldn't pay an $80 house payment just to be able to pass generational wealth down to me and now down to my daughter. And now with my mother by herself at 80 years old and looking at taxes under the new laws of moving, I would just like to say, please support, stand with the residents of Windsor Park and support SB 393. The city of North Las Vegas abandoned us a long time ago. And now, Senator Neal, thank you so much for taking the time and the opportunity to bring that residence back to the glory that it was. Windsor Park has always been known as the resident up on the hill, and we would like to have that glory return to the residents of Windsor Park. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in Las Vegas? Seeing none, AVH, is there anyone online?
The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. I just want to confirm that there's no one else in Las Vegas that would like to come forward and speak in support. All right, let's move on to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City or in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition to the bill? Please come forward. AVH, is there anyone online?
That public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, let's move on to neutral testimony. Is there anyone that would like to testify in neutral on this bill? Seeing none, or in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone online?
There are no callers at this time, sir.
Thank you so much. Senator Neal, did you have any closing remarks?
Thank you, Senator Dunyate. I don't want to say this, but yes, thank you, number one, for having this hearing. I'm confused about the residents that are not coming to the table. I don't know if they all of a sudden got shy, because they've never been shy with me. And so, but thank you for having this hearing. I hope that you guys can read through this amendment. I mean, it's not perfect, but at the end of the day, we are trying to move forward. We are in a really good place. And we believe that the justice for these families is actually going to be achieved, and we are going to be able to make history with these families. So thank you again, and thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you so much, Senator Neal. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and close the hearing on this bill and move on back from subcommittee to a regular committee, since Senator Stone has been here, so if we can mark the record for that. And now we will go ahead and open the hearing on Senate Bill 451. This bill extends the property tax imposed to employ police officers with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And I believe our presenters may have stepped out. Let's go ahead and take a quick recess just to make sure. All right, we'll come back from recess. And so again, we are opening up the bill hearing on Senate Bill 451. And so we're glad to welcome Majority Leader Canizar. So please begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Nicole Cannizzaro, and I proudly serve as a senator from Senate District 6 in the northwest portion of the Las Vegas Valley, and also as your Senate Majority Leader. I am very honored today to be presenting to you Senate Bill 451, which simply extends an existing property tax that funds more than 800 officers with the men and women of our very brave Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department without the need to raise any new taxes or revenue. I am also joined today, and very honored to be joined today, by our Clark County Sheriff, Kevin McMahill, who will also like to give some remarks to the committee before we would take any questions that you may have. By way of background information, Senate Bill 451 maintains an important public safety funding stream that is vital for the safety of our communities and our tourism-dependent economy. For a little background on this particular issue, you have to go all the way back to the general election held in November of 1988, where voters in unincorporated Clark County and the city of Las Vegas approved the imposition of a property tax rate of 8 cents on each $100 of assessed value for the purpose of employing police officers with the LVMPD. 8 years later, at the general election in November of 1996, an additional rate of 20 cents on each $100 of assessed value was approved by the voters for the same purpose, but with an expiration date of June 30th of 2027. Senate Bill 451 maintains an existing 20 cents per $100 of assessed valuation for the purpose of funding additional police positions by requiring the Clark County Board of Commissioners and the City of Las Vegas to impose an ordinance extending the levy for an additional 30 years. Mr. Vice Chair, I would also note that we are very lucky today to also be joined by Commissioner Jim Gibson and by Mayor Shelley Berkeley from the City of Las Vegas, and I'm sure that they will give some supporting testimony once we've been able to answer your questions. In short, with this bill, we don't need to raise any rates or any new revenue from property owners. We just need to keep this existing funding stream in place so that we can keep these 800 officers on the streets. This revenue source generates roughly $158.4 million annually that goes directly to pay for officers serving our community. In fact, this funding supports nearly 1/4, or 825 officers, of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's sworn workforce. Those 825 officers are the equivalent to about half of Metro's patrol force, the officers who are on the street and respond first when our residents need them. I believe that a failure to maintain this revenue stream is simply unacceptable, as it would result in a reduction in force, leading to fewer officers on the street and decreased response times in the community. It would also likely mean shifting resources, alternatively, away from investigatory positions to fill the gap in patrol officers that would emerge. I'm sure that Sheriff McMahill can speak in more detail about the impact losing this funding would have on policing in Clark County, but as a former prosecutor who spent a lot of time in the gang unit, I'd like to highlight this last aspect in particular, because this isn't just about maintaining a certain number of patrol officers on the street at any given time. Investigations and prosecutions of major crimes like gang activity, drug trafficking, murder, and sexual assaults are often extremely time intensive. They take a dedicated detective unit in order to be able to conduct the proper investigations into those much bigger, more complex crimes. Those detectives can spend days, months, even years on their cases. And if we have to move a significant portion of Metro's investigatory positions into patrol positions to fill that gap, just to be able to continue to cover the Las Vegas Valley, I would expect that we would see a significant reduction in our ability to successfully prosecute many violent and complex criminal cases. Before I pass it along to my co-presenter, I'm going to do a brief walkthrough of the bill section by section. Section 1, subsection 1 requires the City of Las Vegas and Clark County to impose a property tax rate of 20 cents per $100 of assessed value for the support of LVMPD for the purpose of employing additional police officers. Section 1, subsection 4 provides that the rate imposed by the bill is not exempt from any partial abatements, which limit the annual increase in property taxes to 3% for single-family residences and eligible residential rental properties, and between 0 and 8% for all other uninsured properties. It also clarifies that the rate imposed by the bill is not subject to NRS 354.59811, which limits the tax rates levied by local governments to either the tax rate that would permit a 6% increase in the amount of revenue raised by property that was on the prior year's tax roll, or the tax rate that was imposed by the local government in the prior fiscal year, whichever is greater. Section 2 clarifies that the tax rate imposed by this bill will continue to be apportioned within the taxing district in the same manner as the tax rate that was approved by voters in 1996. At this point in time, Mr. Vice Chair, I would like to turn it over to Sheriff McMahill, who is with me today and can discuss a little more about how that funding is currently utilized by the LVMPD to keep those brave men and women on our police force.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Vice Chair, senators, and members of the committee. My name is Kevin McMahill, and I was fortunate to be elected as the sheriff of Clark County 2 years ago. In that position, that also means that I am the leader of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. That police department is roughly 6,300 people strong between commissioned and civilian, 3,400 of which are commissioned officers. We are also the 7th largest police department in the country. In the last 2 years, we have been wildly successful against violent crime. 2 years running, 20% reductions in homicide offenses. Last year, we ended with 109. 2 years ago, when I started, we had 158. We are making substantial headway against violent criminals in our community. And our community is thriving in part because of that. The robbery numbers follow the exact same trend. And I can tell you that since the beginning of this year, those same reductions are continuing to take place. As I sit here today, I want to tell you just one little sort of anecdotal story was that we have a homicide section at Metro that solves about 95% of the homicides that occur in our community, the highest solve rate in the nation. That's because of exceptional police work, detectives that are second to none that are doing that work. However, when you went and you looked at those cases that were shootings that didn't become homicides, our solve rates fell off to about 30 to 40%. So people are getting shot and we weren't solving those. I was able to go in and take and create what I call a shoot team. It's a violent gun crime reduction unit. Those detectives, I took 20 detectives, 2 sergeants and a lieutenant, led by one of the chiefs that's sitting behind me. And September to the end of last year, 43 cases, they had a 100% solve rate. So far, from the beginning of this year to now, they also have a 100% solve rate. These are real victims that are getting some sense of justice after having a violent crime committed against them. But I want to tell you about this particular bill, and Senator, thank you so much for your presentation and fantastic support. These are challenges that if we don't get this passed, 800 police officers that it funds, 800 plus, are not going to be able to be out on the streets and doing the work it is that I need to be done. What's going to happen is I will have to radically reduce and eliminate many of those kinds of units that the senator talked about that are so effective at investigating violent crimes, drug crimes, and just about everything else. That's roughly 1/4 of my agency and about half of my currently deployed patrol force. You can imagine the absolute decimation that would have for us. But it's also very important for me to note to you, while we talk about all of those things when it comes to crime, and that's particularly important, I've been invested my entire career in the community policing aspect of what it is that we do. Outreach to various communities in our town. I don't think there's a police department that does it anywhere near as good as we do. We have outreach to African American groups, Hispanic groups, LGBT groups, Asian groups. The list goes on and on and on. And so that would be an absolute loss to our community to lose those kinds of groups that are going out there and making relationships where they don't exist, building trust where it does not exist. And when you have relationship and you have trust, you have a community that believes in their police department. And that's what we currently have in Las Vegas. And so I'm begging you to take a hard look at this, but we need those 800 cops. Currently, we sit at about 2 officers per 1,000 permanent residents. There are many larger agencies than me that have upwards of 4 or 5 or 6. But we found that we can adequately fight crime and reduce victimization in our community if we maintain that level of 2 officers per 1,000. I don't want to go back, and so I'd sure appreciate your support. The final thing I'd like to say on this is, the senator already covered it, but if this tax is extended, nobody's taxes go up. That's an important part of what it is that we're talking about. But if it's not, it's also important to note that your taxes won't go down. The money's still collected. It's just going to be put into a different pot. And I think the people of Las Vegas look forward to having their police department adequately funded. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, that does conclude our presentation. I want to take a moment just to, again, thank the sheriff for being here and for being willing to come and to, I think, make the case, right? And to fight for the men and women who work for LVMPD. They keep our community safe. I think you've heard a lot about the remarkable job that they are doing in that effort, and we have a lot to be proud of, which is not always the case when we're sitting in legislative hearings when it comes to the state of Nevada. But this is something that I think we are doing a lot right with, and to take those resources, I think, would be a certain detriment to our community. I also, have to point out that these men and women do a job that is very hard, extremely hard. I worked alongside many, many, many wonderful officers and detectives who just do a phenomenal job in our community, who are diligent, who care about the people that they are coming into contact with, who are taking their job seriously and are going out into the community and being those people who run first when there is a dangerous situation, being those folks who are looking to keep people safe when a lot of us are calling and asking for their help, right? They're not running away. They're not calling and asking for help. They're coming in and saying, how can we help you? How can we help to solve this problem? And I have to say that the folks that I have worked alongside with are truly remarkable and deserve to have the force that we need in our Las Vegas Valley. And this is a very simple piece of legislation that simply continues that funding. And I think it is extremely important for public safety, for those officers, for our police department, and our largest metropolitan area in the state. And with that, Mr. Vice Chair, I would love to be able to take any questions that you or the committee may have.
Thank you so much. Committee members, any questions? Senator Stone.
Thank you, Madam Majority Leader, for bringing this forward. And Sheriff, it's great to see you and all of your colleagues, and thank you all for your service. I'm very proud of the job that is being done in public safety in Clark County. And in 33 years of being an elected official, I've always understood that my number one responsibility is making my community safe. I've also been an anti-tax advocate throughout my career. And I think the Sheriff, you made it very clear, this is not raising taxes. This tax is going to be paid. It's really just a matter of distribution. And I have to applaud the residents of Clark County many years ago, in November 1988, that imposed this tax that allows for you to have such a large police force. 2 officers per 1,000 is very respectable, at least in my book. And areas that I represented in the past, we were very proud to have 1 out of 1,000. And I think you're doing an exemplary job. So I appreciate the Senator for bringing it forward. I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to supporting the bill.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for testimony. If you would like to testify in support of the bill, we ask for folks to please come forward, both here and in Southern Nevada. Again, 2 minutes per person, and just please be sure to state your name. You may begin. Commissioner, the mic, please. There you go.
Actually went on the record. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the committee. We appreciate your taking the time to advance this important legislation. And I'm here to express my support, unqualified support, for Senate Bill 451. As a county commissioner and as a member of the Metro Fiscal Affairs Committee, I see firsthand that this legislation is important to maintaining the commitment that we have as elected officials to public safety. Our community continues to grow, and as we do that, we must ensure that we meet the public safety needs and that our capacity to do so keeps pace. Additionally, I serve as the chair of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority Board, and as we have seen over the past several years, that agency has succeeded in bringing new premier events of every variety that attract millions of visitors each year. Residents and visitors alike rely on our police department to protect everyone, and that is a growing task. Senate Bill 451 is critical to ensuring that the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department has appropriate funding to meet staffing needs for community response by preserving the 30-year property tax levy that is currently funding 800-plus police officer positions and keeping this quality department ahead of the many challenges that we face in Clark County. We thank the Senate Majority Leader for championing, and if I can say the word, championing this effort and this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Donati and members of the Senate Revenue Committee. My name is Shelley Berkeley, and I have the privilege of serving as mayor of my hometown, the fabulous city of Las Vegas. It's an honor to be seated here today with my colleagues, in addition to Sheriff McMahill and, of course, Senate Majority Leader Cannizzaro, and join forces in support of this most crucial of issues, and that would be public safety. Public safety is the bedrock of a safe and thriving city of any size. It is absolutely essential for economic development and business growth. It is the backbone of all that we do to serve our residents, from parks and streets to schools and jobs. Without high-quality, reliable, trusted public safety, our communities, our neighborhoods, and our families are at risk. Senate Bill 451 aims to renew the revenue source approved by the voters nearly 30 years ago. It has helped fund police officers whose primary mission is to keep our communities safe. Without this bill, as you have heard, the sheriff estimates Metro will lose the funding that supports over 800 police officers. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department is our police force, and the city provides approximately, as you are aware, 1/3 of its budget. 1/3 of the officers that would be lost if this revenue source does not continue amounts to nearly 270 police officers that are currently protecting and serving the city of Las Vegas. Las Vegas, as you know, is a very diverse city, from historic neighborhoods on the east and west sides to a burgeoning medical district and arts district that attracts thousands of artists and visitors alike every year, a vibrant gaming and entertainment district, and a growing concentration of regional homeless services. Keeping all of that safe depends on a well-trained and well-equipped police force. In fact, now, in my opinion, is the time we should be adding police officers, not worrying about the prospect of having fewer of them. This bill is absolutely crucial for Southern Nevada's continued success. In the city, in the county, on the Strip, we stand together along with the sheriff, the Senate Majority Leader, the County Commission, the Resort Corridor, and the Chamber of Commerce. It takes all of us to keep our communities safe, and united, we plan to do just that. We're asking that asking the Senate to extend the funding by voting for SB 451 in order to keep our police force strong and our community safe. And I thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Mayor and Commissioner, for coming. If you want to take a step back and we can let more folks come forward, and you may begin your comment.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Dunyate, members of the committee. My name is John Abel. I serve as the Director of Governmental Affairs for the LVPPA, and I'm also a very proud LVMPD officer. And I'm here today to voice our strong support for Senate Bill 451. Sorry. The LVPPA represents the dedicated men and women of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department who work tirelessly to ensure the safety and security of our communities in Clark County and the city of Las Vegas. Senate Bill 451's extension of a 20-cent property tax rate set to continue from July 1, 2027 to June 30, 2057 is a critical measure to sustain the employment of additional police officers. This funding of additional police officers is essential to maintain the staffing levels necessary to address the growing demands of public safety in our region. The extension of this tax, originally approved by voters in 1996, has proven its value over the years by supporting the hiring and retention of officers who protect our neighborhoods. With the current expiration date of June 30th, 2027, SB 451 ensures a stable financial foundation to meet future challenges, including population growth and evolving crime trends. We appreciate the bill's provision. The LVPPA urges the committee to please approve Senate Bill 451, and I want to thank Senate Majority Leader Canizaro and our sheriff for being here today to support this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Vice Chair Doniati and members of the committee, thank you so much for having us here today. For the record, my name is Mary Beth Seawald. I'm the President and CEO of the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce. I would like to thank Senate Majority Leader Nicole Canizaro for bringing this critical piece of legislation forward. The Chamber supports Senate Bill 451 because we have a collective responsibility to ensure that public safety receives the necessary funding it needs to serve our entire community. SB 451 is essential to the success and well-being of our community, and the Chamber supports extending funding for more than 800 Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department police officers. The retention of these positions is critical to our public safety system and services. The business case is simple. Properly funding LVMPD officers helps promote economic growth by addressing crime and fostering a secure environment for businesses, residents, and visitors. SB 451 means that LVMPD officers will be able to effectively respond to emergencies, investigate crimes, and build community trust, contributing to a safer and stronger community. This is essential to all businesses and, of course, their employees and their families. The economic benefits of funding these police officers, including attracting new businesses to Clark County and the expansion and reinvestment by existing businesses in our community. When our businesses thrive, that means that they can create jobs and contribute to the Southern Nevada economy, and a strong public safety presence is part of that success. From the taxpayer perspective, the Chamber believes that the necessary provisions are in the bill, such as a 30-year limit on the funding and components of good tax policy, because it is fair, simple, and broad in its nature. Thank you so much for your time and consideration in supporting SB 451 and for ensuring that our residents and visitors are safe. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Harrison Porter, HARRISON PORTER. I'm here representing the Las Vegas Police Managers and Supervisors Association, which represents the sergeants, lieutenants, and captains of Las Vegas Metro Police. I want to express our support for SB 451. I believe the importance of this bill has been expressed by everybody prior to me, and I'd like to just echo those points. Thank you for taking the time today, and thank you for your support.
Vice Chair, members of the committee, Nick Vasiliadis for the record. On behalf of the Nevada Resort Association, we would like to also come in full support of SB 451. We'd like to thank the Majority Leader and the Sheriff for bringing this important matter forward. Simply put, the 40+ million visitors that come through Las Vegas every year want to come and have fun, right? But they also want to know that they can do so in a safe and secure environment. Every single year on New Year's Eve, we have roughly 250,000 people swarm the Strip. And the relative success that we get to have year in and year out on that night in particular, I mean, there's events all through the year, obviously, but that night in particular, we have a lot of people that come down to the Strip and very little issue. And the Nevada Resort Association can easily point to Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department as the reason why we have very few issues on those nights and why our visitors feel very comfortable coming down to the Strip, spending their money, and having a great time and coming back time and time again. So we want to thank the sponsor, thank the sheriff, and very much urge your support on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else here in Carson City? Seeing none here in Las Vegas AVH, is there anyone online?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 451, please press *9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Brian Wachter. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Retail Association of Nevada. We'd like to thank the Majority Leader for introducing this proposal today. Retailers face significant struggles and consequences when it comes to theft on our properties. We appreciate that the legislature has stayed current in operating and helping us with organized retail crime. And we appreciate that by doing so, we are able to keep prices down for our customers. And we believe that Metro needs these resources to be able to continue to respond to those situations inside of our retail stores and being able to keep our customers safe as well as our investments safe. We appreciate the committee's time on such an important matter, and we urge its swift passage through the Senate. Thank you.
If you have recently joined and would like to testify in support of SB 451, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Let's move on to opposition testimony. If you are opposed to this bill, please come forward. Seeing none here or in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone online?
Hello, do you guys hear me?
Please proceed.
Oh, you guys, yes, good afternoon. CYRUSHOJJATY. I do support repairing our roads, and the condition of our roads overall is pretty good. However, I don't want all these tax burdens to be imposed on the people. Right now, typical gas prices in the Las Vegas area is about $1 higher than the national average and $1.50 more than some parts of the country. In fact, I'm calling you from Tucson, and gas is below $3 a gallon, believe it or not. We have been increasing taxes after taxes. Our main attraction to Nevada is the low tax climate. But this isn't really a revenue issue or repair issue. This is an urban planning issue. I am the lead director, local chapter of Strong Towns Las Vegas. We promote traditional urban planning. And as the presentation has showed, many of these 6 8-lane arterial routes like Craig, Blue Diamond, Rainbow, the list goes on, are very costly and inefficient. And I'm very disappointed that we still have growth policies that encourage this type of wasteful type of spread out development. Cul-de-sacs, all these loop subdivisions, feeding into these inefficient 45-mile-an-hour arterial roads. These have to stop being built. And if we have different growth policies, maybe in terms of repairing our infrastructure won't be as costly. Now, I would have less opposition if we figure out why our gasoline prices are so high. Part of the reason why Tucson is cheaper than Las Vegas is because they get their fuel not from California. When there's a refinery outage in California, like happened in March of 2023, our gas prices went up $1.50 while the rest of the country went up 70 cents. So
Thank you so much, sir,
one
for
of the
your comment.
highest gasoline prices in the
Thank
country.
you so much for your comment. If you can go ahead and submit it in writing, we would greatly appreciate it.
Can I wrap it up?
You got.
Can I wrap it
you
up?
got 5 seconds. Go for it.
Thank you so much. Great pleasure. And please vote no or you make some changes to this bill. Great pleasure.
Thank you so much. AVH, is there anyone else online?
Thank you, Chair. There are no other callers on the line at this time.
Thank you so much. Let's move on to neutral testimony. If you would like to testify in neutral, please come forward. Seeing none here or in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone online?
There are no other callers at this line, Chair.
Thank you so much. Majority Leader, do you have any closing remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the sheriff, to Commissioner Gibson, to Mayor Shelley Berkeley, to everyone else who has come in support, and in particular, a huge thank you to the folks sitting behind me from LVMPD. They really do a very hard job, and I just wanted to say thank you for them taking the time to come here, to be here, to let us know how important it is for us to support them just like they are supporting us. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us, and thank you all for coming to Senate Revenue today. I'm going to go ahead and close the hearing on this bill, which brings us to our last agenda item, which is the work session on Senate Bill 196. So seeing that we have quorum and we can proceed, Senate Bill 196, I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Tower explain the bill and the work session document, and then we will go to questions.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Christian Tower, Fiscal Analysis Division. For work session today is Senate Bill 196. Senate Bill 196 authorizes a heavy equipment rental company to charge a recovery fee to offset taxes levied on certain heavy equipment. The bill is sponsored by Senator Canizaro. It was heard in this committee on March 4th. Senate Bill 196 allows heavy equipment rental companies to charge a recovery fee equal to 2% of the rental price of heavy equipment to offset personal property taxes levied on their heavy equipment. The bill additionally requires that any excess proceeds from the recovery surcharge be distributed to local governments in proportion to property taxes received by each local government. There are two amendments that have been submitted to this bill. The first one was submitted by Senator Canizaro. The amendment firstly deletes sections 1, 17, and 18. It secondly eliminates the remittance of excess collections of the recovery fee in section 15, subsections 2, 3, and 4, but retains section 15, subsection 1, to ensure heavy equipment rental companies continue reporting their collections under the recovery fee. Thirdly, the amendment changes section 13 to allow a recovery fee not to exceed 2% instead of equal to 2%. Additionally, the amendment revises section 13, subsection 3b, to remove references to remittance of recovery fee in section 15, subsections 2, 3, and 4. Fourthly, the amendment revises section 16, subsections 1a, b, and c, to remove references to remittance of the recovery fee in section 15, subsections 2, 3, and 4. A second amendment was submitted by the Fiscal Analysis Division staff on behalf of Senator Doniate, and this amendment changes section 9 of the bill to clarify the term rental charge does not include any other separately stated charges for recovery of the property taxes on the heavy equipment rental property. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Committee members, any questions? At this time, I will go ahead and entertain a motion to amend and do pass. We have a motion from Senator Stone. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Senator Cruz Crawford. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor to amend and do pass, please say aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion's carried. And I will assign that floor statement to Senator Canizaro. That concludes our work session, which brings us to the end of our agenda. Public comment. If there's anyone that would like to provide public comment at this time, we would go ahead and ask folks to please come forward. Seeing none here or in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone online?
If you'd like to provide public comment, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Thank you, sir. The public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. That concludes the items for today's agenda, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone next Tuesday. Meeting's adjourned.